Hi everyone, welcome back to my page. Today I wanted to discuss a topic that many of us have experienced, especially those who have similar backgrounds to me, and I feel that this is especially prominent amongst women. Having said that, some men also deal with this, but growing up we've all had this huge crippling fear of our parents' disapproval. And this fear then ended up affecting our life choices, who we are as adults now, and everything else that comes with it. It's shaped us into the choices we made, the career paths we chose, the partners that we decided to settle with. So it's a very important thing for us to kind of look into and see why we have this fear, how this fear is debilitating us, and how to overcome it. Of course, it's having said that, we all have to honor and love and respect our parents, but we need to learn to navigate to be able to live an authentic life that's right for us. If we're still doing the same things that the old generation did and the generation previous to them did, then what's the point of our generation if we're not going to bring any changes, break any curses, and make a real difference? And just because something worked before doesn't mean that it will always work. We live in a different world now, we live in a different society, and we need to be able to learn to navigate things in our own way and figure it ourselves out. If you haven't been to my page, welcome. I'm Hamasa. I look at mental and emotional well-being as well as day-to-day issues and loads of things on personal development. If you haven't subscribed to my page already, please do so. So that you're up to date with my weekly content. So I'm going to dive right into this. Coming from an Afghan background and, growing up in such a small community in the West, because Afghans, there aren't many of us, especially in the UK, in comparison to the other Asian cultures and communities. So we're very kind of close-knit. We stick together. We're not that integrated in comparison to, let's say, the Indian community or the Bangladeshi community, because they have been in the West for a lot longer than the Afghan community. And so our community and the wider kind of family members and our families hold this fear and a level of control over what we do in our lives. Who we marry, what we study, what career path we choose, where we live, what we need to do. And it's been like this ever since growing up. Like, this is something that's been said to me, this is something that my mom and dad lived by, and I see it in people around me. But saying that, it doesn't mean that this doesn't happen in the other Asian communities or other communities overall, because I've seen it with my friends. My friendship group is very diverse, and I've been friends with them for a long time. I've seen their relationships with their families, and they too also deal with a lot of sort of conflict when it comes to pleasing their parents and keeping them happy and doing the right thing, or doing what's right for them and the choices and the partners and the countries that they want to live in and do things in. So the thing is here now, we need to understand that everything in life comes with a price, every single thing. And most times we need to make a choice of whether that price is worth it or not. And for different people, that differs. So what may be okay for me may not be okay for you, and vice versa. Everybody's family dynamics different, everybody's life and upbringing is different, and so those choices and that price will be something to pay. For me personally, this was put to test when it came to my modeling. My parents supported me, so that wasn't that much of a choice. But it was more when I wanted to move out for university. For the first time, I was really given an extreme ultimatum by my mom that if you move out of our house to go and study somewhere far away at university, then you're not welcome back home, basically. Like, you're done. We're throwing you out. You make a choice to live out now, don't come back here. And I kind of knew because I mentioned it to my mom several times before that. When I was making up my applications to university, I was obviously applying to the ones that I wanted to study the subject, not necessarily how many miles radius that was away from my house. So I knew that when the time came, I'm going to have this battle. And she wasn't happy with it, because I hinted at many times that, oh, I'm looking at this university or that university, and he was always like, no, absolutely not. So when time came and I got my choice and I wanted to go, and it was the open day, and I was like, I'm going to go to the open day at my university in Surrey, which was about 50 minutes from my house, 50 minutes drive. She sat me down and she gave me the ultimatum. Now, for me, I always knew that I wanted to live out. My line of work and modeling and stuff had a lot of traveling, a lot of castings, a lot of in and out of London. I needed my freedom, independence. I needed like shoots overrun. I didn't have a set routine of a job. I would leave really early in the morning, come really late, you know. And so for me, it was the right thing to do and move out. My way of moving out was university, to give it a taster, for them to understand that I can handle this, I won't lose myself. And so I really needed to prove to them that living out in university would then enable me to live out in the future. So I saved up, I thought through it, I knew the consequences, I sat down and I spoke to my mom. And at that time in my life, where I was, how I saw it, what I wanted to do, the decision and choice that I made, I was willing to pay that price at that time. And I don't have regrets, because everything turned out exactly how it was supposed to work out, because that was right for me. Doesn't mean that will work for you. It just means that you need to find that boundary. You need to understand what is worth the fight and what you're willing to lose and the price that you're paying. Because there is absolutely no way, with our cultures, what happens is that our parents sometimes see us as an extension of their ambition. Things that they couldn't achieve, things that they couldn't do, things that got taken away from them. They want to impose on us and project on us because we have the opportunity. We appreciate the opportunity. We're grateful for the opportunity. But it doesn't mean that that's the same opportunity that we want for ourselves or our lives. So it doesn't mean that just because it worked for you, this is what you want, is the right thing for us. So for me, it was to move out and live out for university. It was very important. I really needed it. I wanted it. I was willing to fight for it. And so I was willing to pay the price. In my head, the way I saw it was that it's okay, I will move out. And if my mom doesn't want me to come back to the house, I will not. And I will do everything I can in my power to repair my relationship and gain that trust back. But if she doesn't want me coming back here and I'm not going to have a home here living with them, I'll be okay. I can survive this, and I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to support myself, and I'm going to do this. But it didn't mean that I was willing to turn my back on my parents or cut them out or not have them in my life. They're incredibly important to me, and it means the world to me to have a good relationship with them. But I was still willing to go through a patch, a certain amount of time that I will go through, that this will be the consequences of this action. And as much as they mean the world to me and they are my number one to this day and I'll do anything for them, there was a choice, and I will respect and listen to my parents, but I will not allow them to control me or emotionally blackmailing me. If your parent is concerned for you, there is nothing wrong with that. It's their duty and job. But if they're controlling you, it's unhealthy, and it doesn't matter who that is, it's harmful to you, and you need to draw a boundary. And what my mom was doing at that time was a form of control, and it was a form of emotional blackmail, and I was not going to allow that to make a life choice for me that I would regret and resent for the rest of my life. Fast forward years later, I graduated. I've been graduated for a long time. Good relationship with my parents. We overcame it. By the time it came to actually me moving out, bear in mind this argument happened on our open day. So I went to see the university, then I did the interviews, then I got the placement, then I moved out. It was a good few months in between that. my mom got used to that idea because I started buying stuff for my new room, and I started telling her, look, I'm doing this, Mom, regardless. I'm sorry you feel this way. I love you very much. I respect you, but I have to do what I have to do. It will really break me to have to do that without your support. But it is what it is kind of thing in Farsi, you know, along those lines. The conversation went like that. And she knew that I was going to do that. So it was, and to her as well, it became evident that either this could turn messy and she'll move out and it'll just be a mess and we're going to have to work a lot harder to overcome this, or I'm going to have to, because I can see that the decision's been made. So the emotional blackmail or things that used to work before are just not going to work at this point. So we both have to reach some sort of compromise, and we didn't. We overcame it. That was wonderful. It worked for me. But the point of me telling you guys this story is because you have to understand that there will be a price, and if you make that decision, you have to be willing to pay it and be okay regardless of what happens. Because at the end of the day, your parents do not own you. It's a privilege for them to have a child. It's a privilege for you to have caring and loving parents, but nobody owns anyone. So if you're by your mid-20s and you haven't reached a place where you're more like a peer with your parents, like somewhat more of a friendship rather than this fearfulness, then they're not allowing you to grow in the right direction, and you're still thinking of things and looking at your parents from a very childish and naive perspective and have this see them as gods and archetypes of what parenting should be like. But at the end of the day, the only thing that your parents can do or are there to do is to nurture you, nourish you, help you grow, but not control which direction you grow into, and allow you that space. Because like I said, our generation, like every generation comes and every generation has the same problems. Parents want one thing for you, you want another, and there's always this conflict. And if it's repeatedly happening, it's because we're not really moving away or resolving this issue. We're kind of just letting it be and passing it on to the next generation. So when are we going to break these generational curses and patterns? We live in the era of technology. We live in a very different society. We live in a time and a place that freedom, independence, and things like that, not just from cultural boundaries, but just like mental, financial, and things like that are incredibly important for our mental health, well-being, growth, independence. And the more your parents hold you close to them, and the more they shelter you, and the more they control you, the less useful you are to them when they need your help and they've aged and they've grown and you have to look after them, because you haven't grown yourself. So how could you possibly look after someone else when you're not the adult or fully, developed individual, because you never got given that opportunity? So having this fear of your parents as disapproval, like we all experience it, is normal. But letting that fear control you and not testing the waters and not seeing the consequences, because what we tend to do as humans, we always think of that 50% that could go wrong. But what about the 50% that could go right? If you don't ask, you don't get. So don't let that fear control your life choices when it comes to your career path, your education, your partner, where you want to live, the things that are right for you. As long as they make you feel good, they're authentic to you, you're not harming or disrespecting anyone, by going against their approval isn't necessarily disrespect. It's about setting boundaries, and understanding that and doing it in the right way will save you so much headache and heartache and resent, and really improve your relationship with your parents. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you have, please do share it with someone who may need it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have, please do subscribe to my page, like and comment on this video. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again here next week. Mwah.